Mind Vine Studios presents.
Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into some profound questions.
Yeah.
Character, ethics, action. Stuff that's as old as time but feels incredibly urgent right now.
Mm-hmm.
Our guide is Ryan Holiday's book, Right Thing, Right Now.
Fantastic read.
Totally. And our mission, really, is to unpack how people throughout history, thinkers, leaders, even regular folks, wrestled with doing the right thing.
And what we can learn from their struggles. Right.
Exactly. What it teaches us about our own lives.
Yeah.
And there are some genuinely surprising stories in here and practical takeaways you might not expect.
Yeah, what's fascinating is how Holiday frames it right from the start. He talks about the ancient Greek idea of a pretendant.
Excellence.
Excellence, yeah, but not just skill. It's like moral, physical, mental excellence, striving for the highest version of yourself, basically, holistically.
Okay.
And he uses that classic story, Hercules at the crossroads.
Right.
Picture him, at this quiet intersection, and two goddesses appear. One offers this easy life, no pain, no struggle. That's the path of vice.
Tempting.
Totally. The other, though, promises rewards only through, hard work, sacrifice, challenge. That's virtue. And Hercules chooses the hard path.
A foundational choice.
Exactly. And it's not just some old legend. It's our choice every day. Virtue isn't a one-time thing. It's this continuous decision. Selfish or selfless, brave or cowardly, growth or just stagnation.
Makes sense.
And that leads right into the book's core argument, justice. It's not just legal stuff, not some abstract ideal. Holiday presents it as the crucial virtue, the whole point almost.
The point. That's big.
Yeah, think about it. Courage used for evil, brilliance without a moral compass, self-discipline just for yourself. It all becomes worthless or even dangerous if justice isn't there.
I see.
Like Cicero said, justice is that brightest adornment of virtue. And Holiday points out how we today often mix up what's lawful with what's actually right. What really struck you about how he frames justice for us, in our daily lives?
Well, it really hit on that it's not just this grand abstract thing in courtrooms. It's how you treat a stranger, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you run your business, how seriously you take your promises, the impact you have. It sounds simple, but maybe profoundly rare.
It can be.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Holiday says the pursuit of justice doesn't start out there. It starts right here with us. Personal integrity.
Exactly.
The world might seem full of injustice, but we, individually, can choose to be different. Choose our own code, even if it's not illegal or everyone else does it, or you could get away with it.
Right. And that code isn't about restriction. It actually frees you, gives life meaning, makes a real difference.
So where does that personal foundation start?
The first pillar he lays out is keep your word. Simple, but huge. Your word is your bond. A literal contract.
Okay.
He tells the story of Marcus Aurelius Regulus, Roman prisoner in Carthage for 5 years.
Right, I remember this one.
He gets paroled, sent back to Rome to negotiate peace, but he tells the Senate, nope, reject the terms. Carthage is weak.
Knowing what that meant for him.
Exactly. He was free, safe in Rome, but he'd given his oath to return, so he goes back. Back to Carthage, knowing it meant torture and death, because he swore he would.
Just unimaginable commitment.
He wouldn't break his oath, not even when they have been given to enemies. The takeaway isn't just about huge life or death things, though. It's about consistency. Keeping your word builds trust, builds character in every little interaction.
So it's a spectrum then, from Regulus facing death to Diane de Prima leaving that legendary beat party just to relieve her babysitter on time.
Precisely. He's saying discipline and honor matter even in those pedestrian matters. It builds the habit.
Okay.
Holiday also mentions Hadrian calling young Marcus Aurelius verissimus.
The truest one.
Yeah, because Marcus just spoke his mind. Always. Honestly. Honesty shouldn't need a big intro, right? It should just be.
Makes sense.
And then there's the extreme version, whistleblowing. Like Ernie Fitzgerald exposing government waste in the Air Force, became the most hated man.
Wow.
It just shows sometimes honesty is dangerous. It's not always celebrated.
So, building on keeping your word, Holiday moves to take responsibility. There's that amazing story about Maxwell Perkins, the editor.
As a teenager.
Yeah, after saving a friend from drowning, he makes this lifelong resolution, never to refuse a responsibility.
A defining moment.
And the book argues that decision, that choice to take responsibility, is like the first step towards a just life. Handling your own stuff, as Joan Didion put it. Character, self-respect, comes from that.
And Admiral Hyman Rickover had such a sharp take on this.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I am not responsible is a semantic error. It doesn't mean you're not involved. It means I am irresponsible.
Oof, that hits hard.
Doesn't it? We dodge responsibility because it's hard, risky, or we just want someone else to deal with it. But choosing to be dependable, to actually care about the outcome, not just yourself, that ripples out.
It really flips the script on how we think about excuses, doesn't it?
Completely. The practical shift is just realizing your actions matter. You matter. It's actually pretty empowering when you think about it.
Absolutely. Accepting that power seems key for the next point. Being your own referee.
Yeah.
Even when nobody's looking.
Yes.
Like that baseball player, Frank Robinson. Hits what he thinks is a homer, jogs. Turns out it's just a single. Later, he tells the umpire he missed touching first base. Pays a fine after they won.
Holding himself to a higher standard.
Exactly. Compare that to, say, golfer Patrick Reed, who's had all those cheating accusations, making weird distinctions between cheating and rule breaking.
Yeah. Holiday makes it clear. If you're busy making those kinds of distinctions, you've probably already lost the plot.
Right.
There's a really compelling example of self-refereeing from a race in 2012. A Kenyan runner, Abel Mutai, gets confused near the end, pulls up short.
Oh, I think I saw this.
BB. The Spanish runner behind him, Ivan Fernandez Anaya, could have just run past and won easily.
But he didn't.
No. He actually gestured, then basically pushed Mutai over the finish line first, sacrificed his own win.
Incredible sportsmanship.
It's what Chrysippus the Stoic said. It's okay to want useful things, but taking them by depriving someone else, that's not just. The powerful point here is only you really know if you got away with something. You're the one who has to live with it. That internal standard matters more than any external rule.
That really sticks with you. Okay, final piece of this personal foundation. Realize your potential.
Crucial.
It opens with Buckminster Fuller, the architect. He's at his lowest point, contemplating suicide, and here's this voice.
You do not belong to you. You belong to the universe.
Yeah, and it totally transforms him. He decides to dedicate his life to serving others, using his experiences for their benefit.
It connects so well to that biblical parable of the talents, right?
Right, yes.
What do we do with the gift the talents were given? Holiday argues we owe it to the world to make the most of them.
Like Florence Nightingale.
Exactly. For 16 years, she felt stuck, hiding her potential because of fear, family expectations. But once she broke free, revolutionized nursing, saved countless lives.
Shows that good intentions aren't enough.
Right. Meaning well meant nothing without competence. And Jimmy Carter talks about how that parable shaped him. Admiral Rickover famously challenged him, asking why he hadn't always given his best.
That's a tough question.
It is, and it's the question for all of us. What will you do with your unique gifts? How will you live up to your potential? We serve the world best by doing what we're good at fully.
Okay, so we've built this personal foundation. Keep your word, take responsibility, be your own ref, realize potential. Now, let's zoom out a bit to how this affects the few, our communities, our immediate circles.
Right, extending that virtue outwards.
First up, be an open book. There's that cool story about Drusus, the Roman official, designing his house.
Yeah, the architect asks about privacy, and Drusus says, essentially, make it so everyone can see how I live. Total transparency.
Wow.
And Joseph Pulitzer said, there is not a crime which does not live by secrecy. Evil hates the light. Right.
Makes sense.
The book contrasts Thomas Jefferson, plagued by secrets about Sally Hemings' slavery, with Ben Franklin. Franklin lived so openly, he didn't care if his valet was a spy. Nothing to hide.
So it's not about no privacy.
No, privacy is fine. But for public figures, or just in our dealings, true transparency isn't just legal compliance. It's proactively sharing, not hiding the ball if you feel like hiding it.
You probably shouldn't be doing it.
That's the idea. Strive to be the kind of person where the more people know, the more they respect you.
That's a great litmus test for our actions. Okay, next, be decent. We hear about Clarence Darrow, the famous lawyer.
This quiet decency.
Like refusing to report that rude train steward. Never heard a man who was working for his living or taking a pay cut on a speaking tour so the promoter wouldn't lose money.
Yeah, and the book stresses that decency is really tested when things are tough, when you're tired, stressed, when someone else messes up. That's when it counts.
Not just when it's easy.
Exactly. It's about not adding to people's burdens. Think of Mip Geese, running errands for Anne Frank's family in hiding. Ordinary decency, but it lit up a dark world. A small light in a dark room.
Oh.
Holiday emphasizes, sticking up for the little guy is not just empathy, it should also be a point of honor. People are struggling out there. We should try to lighten loads, remember everyone wants dignity, security, respect. Treat people well, even when it costs nothing to be mean.
Simple but powerful.
Oh.
Okay, shifting to our roles within the community, do your job. This story from segregated Alabama in '61 is unexpected.
Floyd Mann, yeah.
Police Chief Floyd Mann.
Right.
Southern good old boy, friend of the racist governor. But during the freedom rides...
He defied everyone's expectations.
Totally. Governor says he can't protect the riders. Man just calmly says, basically, it's my job. If you tell me to protect them, I will. And he did. Unprecedented protection. Even stopped a riot himself.
It really says something that I was just doing my job is often used as an excuse, right? Not a mark of heroism.
Yeah, that's true.
Youth 11 asked the great unasked question. Given my role here, how should I behave? Floyd Mann just lived that. His job was law enforcement, keeping people safe, period.
Regardless of politics or pressure.
That's duty, not what's convenient, but what the role demands. Contrast that with Pilate just giving the mob what they wanted with Jesus. When we truly do our job, its core purpose, we raise the standard for everyone.
That's a really key distinction, just going through the motions versus embodying the job's purpose. Okay, next. Keep your hands clean.
Integrity under pressure.
Frank Serpico, the cop, getting offered that bribe. Plain envelope, $300. He just refused.
Mm-hmm.
And that story about wealthy Romans trying to corrupt Cato the Younger, sending him to a shady province.
Yeah, to desensitize him, show him how things were supposedly done, mess with his moral compass.
So the point is...
Just because everyone else does it doesn't make it right. Just because an offer looks harmless doesn't mean it won't slowly corrupt you.
Like the live golf thing.
Good example. Contrast Patrick Reed taking the money with Rory McIlroy refusing, saying decisions made purely for money usually go wrong. The book warns, few of us can deal in filth without becoming dirty. And very few of us can compromise without being compromised. Integrity means honoring your code, especially in those gray areas.
Like Captain Arthur MacArthur.
Yeah, finding that bribe money, sending it straight to the treasury, and telling his bosses, they're getting close to my price. He knew his weakness and acted accordingly.
So guard your integrity fiercely.
Because once it's gone, it's incredibly hard to get back.
Okay, rounding out this community focus, integrity is everything. Martha Graham, the dancer, refusing to perform at the Nazi Olympics in '35.
A huge deal. Massive opportunity for her.
But she said no.
Yeah.
3/4 of my group are Jewish, she said. How could she go? And when the Nazis threatened her reputation...
Her comeback was legendary. If I don't come, everybody will know why I didn't, and that will be a bad thing for you.
Boom. Just pure integrity.
It was worth more than fame or money. And think about Ulysses S. Grant. Financially at rock bottom, but he frees William Jones, a slave he owned, because he just couldn't stomach it.
Even when it cost him dearly.
That's the point Holiday makes. It's not a real principle unless it costs you money. Integrity stops being abstract when life forces you to act on it.
It's your anchor.
Exactly. Joan Didion warned about lying awake, regretting betrayals, broken promises, wasted gifts that comes from lacking self-respect, lacking integrity. To live without it, the worst fate of all. It's that inner compass.
Okay, powerful stuff on the personal and community level. Now we zoom out again to the biggest picture, the universal call, contributing to the all.
We won this, yeah.
This starts with Choose a North Star. The book uses Dov Charney of American Apparel.
Interesting case.
He built a company prioritizing garment workers, fair wages, way above average in the environment, over just maximizing profit. Investors were confused.
Because he could have made much more overseas.
Right. He had this North Star beyond just profit. But then the tragic part, his ego, resentments, they kind of overshadowed that initial goodness and eventually wrecked the company.
A cautionary tale within the example. Holiday connects this to Harry Truman, his North Star, the American people and the Constitution, unwavering.
Solid.
Truman quoted Horace about the just man being unshaken by popular rage or tyrants. The Greeks had a word, pleonexia, self-serving ambition. They saw it as the worst way to live.
So justice and virtue are the opposite.
Totally. One path leads north, the other. Down to depths. We mess up, sure, but that North Star helps us find our way back, provides clarity in chaos.
A reminder that purpose matters, but you got to stay true to it, which leads right into the book's title, Right Thing, Right Now, illustrated by Jimmy Carter.
At his inauguration as Georgia governor in '71, conservative state.
And minutes into his term, he just drops it. I say to you, quite frankly, that the time for racial discrimination is over. Just like that.
Stunning moment. And Admiral Rickover, his mentor, had taught him, the right time for the right thing was always right now.
No delay.
Carter said he found it impossible to delay something he saw needed doing. The book frames procrastination not just as laziness, but as, an enemy of justice.
Wow.
Marcus Aurelius tells himself, you could be good today. Instead, you choose tomorrow. Virtue isn't a destination. Aristotle said it's a daily habit. The longer you wait, the harder it gets to act. Justice demands immediacy. Delay is injustice continuing.
Okay, this next part, it really blew me away. The Unfinished March of Justice starts in 1787, London. 12 guys in a print shop.
Yeah, Quakers, Anglicans, diverse group, deciding to abolish the transatlantic slave trade.
Which is this massive, brutal industry, mostly out of sight for Britons. How do they start something so huge?
It's incredible. It really kicked off with Thomas Clarkson, a divinity student, entered an essay contest. Is it lawful to make slaves of others against their will?
And the research changed him.
Totally. Led him to this life-altering conclusion at Wade's Mill. Somebody has to end this. He had to end this. And then decades of meticulous work.
Wow.
Studying everything, interviewing everyone, traders, former slaves, finding allies like Alauda Equiano, recruiting Josiah Wedgwood for that "Am I not a man and a brother" logo.
The first political logo, right?
Yeah. Hit people in the solar plexus, forced them to confront the human cost. Clarkson invented consumer boycotts, built the first real diverse political coalition, a masterclass in activism.
And then you see the torch being passed. Just after Clarkson died, 1848, Seneca Falls Convention.
300 women, many from the abolition movement.
Starting their own fight, using Jefferson's language about repeated injuries and usurpations. They clearly learned from Clarkson's playbook petitions, agents, press, pulpit.
Absolutely, leading to figures like Sojourner Truth. Black, woman, former slave, triple discrimination, demanding ain't I a woman, fighting for everyone.
You see the pattern. Persistent public action.
Definitely. Susan B. Anthony arrested for voting. Emmeline Pankhurst and the suffragettes, deeds, not words. Prison, hunger strikes. Emily Davison killed by the king's horse holding a banner. Public martyrdom.
It's intense.
And the lineage flows right into the civil rights movement. That idea from Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, we are all bound together in one great bundle of humanity.
Guiding principle.
Rosa Parks, MLK Jr., picking up that torch, fighting for the soul of the nation, and that amazing story of Mary Peabody, the 72-year-old grandmother arrested in St. Augustine.
Her picture went viral, essentially.
Right. Smiling behind bars, it transformed her, transformed others. And these protests, meticulously planned, practiced discipline, nonviolence, absorbing blows.
You were after the sheriff.
Exactly. Relentless. It truly is an endless passing of torches.
It just hammers home how individual actions, repeated, can bend history.
Yeah.
But even within that big sweep, we need to remember you just have to be kind.
Yes. Seems small, but it's foundational.
Emperor Hadrian choosing Antoninus as successor, not because of blood, but because he saw him helping his frail father-in-law up the stairs. Unseen kindness.
That small act decided an empire's future. Kindness is powerful, courageous even in a cynical world. Clementine Churchill had to remind Winston, immense power, but not so kind as he used to be. His authority obligated politeness.
Interesting.
The Stoics said, see every person as an opportunity for kindness. It transforms your whole day. Marcus Aurelius, on his deathbed, regretted unkindness most. It just makes us better. It's practical.
And kindness often grows from understanding, right? Which brings us to see how the other half lives.
Crucial for empathy.
Beatrice Webb, privileged background, goes undercover with a working-class family.
Yeah.
Shatters her beliefs.
Yeah, just miles from home, but another planet. Sparks her lifelong social activism, London School of Economics, fighting for social safety nets.
It's a recurring theme, isn't it?
Totally. Teddy Roosevelt visits slums, sees horrific tenement conditions, asks, what are you going to do about it? Changes his whole direction.
LBJ.
Transformed on civil rights after hearing his black housekeeper, Zephyr Wright, describe the humiliation of driving south, using bushes for restrooms, eating from paper bags. Johnson was in tears. It fueled the Civil Rights Act push.
Wow.
It's easy to stay in our bubbles, right? But holiday stresses, we cannot fix what we won't face. We have to seek out experiences that challenge us. Ask yourself, did you not know, or just not care to know? What does that make you think about your own worldview?
It makes me question how much we think we know versus what we actually understand until we step outside that comfort zone, which leads right into do something, no neutrality.
Yes. Action is required.
The book contrasts Joseph P. Kennedy appeasing Hitler as ambassador
Making false equivalences, blaming victims, didn't want it to be his problem.
with his son, JFK, who seemed haunted by that. JFK understood silence in the face of evil is itself evil, echoing Bonhoeffer.
Right. Bonhoeffer from inside Nazi Germany, not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. Marcus Aurelius warned about committing injustice by doing nothing. History shows what happens when good people stay silent. When society acts on a problem affecting a few, it builds collective muscle for future challenges. Tackling civil rights strengthened America's own rights and standing.
So indifference hurts everyone in the end.
Exactly. Think of Niemöller's poem. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Shrug at others' suffering, and you invite it upon yourself. Neutrality is an active choice against justice.
Okay, but faced with huge problems, it can feel overwhelming. The advice, start small.
Yes, Mother Teresa, if I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will.
Focus on the achievable.
Carl Jung advised someone in despair to just quietly do the next and most necessary thing. Even the smallest step is progress. The Tao Te Ching says great things all begin with what is small.
Like the boycotts.
Exactly. Boycotting slave-produced sugar or cotton. Small individual acts, but collectively, changed the world. As that civil rights marcher said, we won when we started. Just take the first step, carry the fire. Small actions add up.
And you don't have to do it alone. Next, create alliances. Harvey Milk, early, openly gay politician, succeeding by partnering with the Teamsters Union.
Unexpected, right. He helped them. They allowed gay drivers in the union, finding common ground.
Shows you need allies.
Justice is a team sport, Holliday says. Few achieve much alone. Think of Truman recognizing Israel largely because his old friend Eddie Jacobson persisted, appealed to their personal bond.
It doesn't sound like you, Harry.
Exactly. And Truman caves. You win, you bald-headed son of a bitch. Clarkson, the suffragettes, they built big tent coalitions, worked with diverse groups, even those they disagreed with.
A stoic virtue, collaboration.
Yeah, the ability to compromise and work together is human. Milk and the Teamsters working together, that was justice embodied, planting seeds for the future. Sometimes, the book notes, you find allies in unexpected places, challenges your assumptions.
Such an important point, especially now. But alliances aren't always enough. You also need to get power. That stark Melian dialogue quote.
The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. Brutal, but often true.
So morality needs muscle.
Sometimes. MLK understood that. The Montgomery bus boycott wasn't just persuasion. It was economic coercion, bringing the system near insolvency.
And Florence Nightingale
realized her detailed reports weren't enough. Reports are not self-executive. You need power, funding, public support, friends in high places. Seneca's complex relationship with Nero shows power is dangerous, but sometimes necessary for change. Lincoln believed right makes might, but also that courage was needed to meet force with force, a world where the good guys just disarm. That leads back to the Millian dialogue.
Okay, so power is a tool,
Yeah.
but even with power, you need practice pragmatism.
Yes, idealism needs realism.
Carter pardoning Vietnam draft evaders on day one. Principled, aiming for healing, but seen as naive by some.
Contrast that with Lincoln pushing the 13th Amendment. Morally right, yes, but short on votes. He didn't give a speech. He horse-traded, pressured people, told lobbyists, I am the president, clothed with immense power. Procure those 2 votes.
Getting his hands dirty for the greater good.
Exactly. Justice can be beautifully articulated by a moralist, but they might not achieve it. Leaders have to act, make tough calls, be idealists and realists.
Like Bonhoeffer advising just doing the Nazi salute.
Yeah, pragmatically. Raise your arm. Don't waste energy on silly battles. Save it for real risks. Holliday's advice. Stop looking for angels. Start looking for angles. Be effective, not just pure.
Right, and effectiveness often requires developed competence. Back to Florence Nightingale.
Her nearly 2 decades of preparation before Crimea, that slow-motion training montage.
Because good intentions aren't enough.
She saw confidently incompetent doctors and nurses causing deaths. Realized meaning well meant nothing without skill. Her approach was systemic communication, donations, even accounting systems praised decades later.
Wow.
Caring really matters, Holliday writes, but what justice needs is time, money, leadership, competence.
Like MLK evolving.
Yeah, from just righteousness to skilled organizing, partnering with LBJ, the legislative master, unstoppable force for good. Competence isn't automatic, it's learned. Trial and error. Your good intentions need skill behind them.
So true. And that competence, paired with generosity, becomes give, give, give. Rabbi Harold Kushner, starting his writing day with a small charity donation.
Like a sacrifice to the gods or the muses, giving a ritual a habit.
How it starts.
Jimmy Carter's commitment came from his mom feeding hobos during the Depression. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Mr. Self-Reliance, was actually incredibly generous, supported Thoreau, Whitman, Dickinson, cultivated a coaching tree.
Ah, interesting phrase.
Marcus Aurelius felt lucky he could always help people financially. Giving makes us better, becomes a habit, a blessing to others, a positive feedback loop.
Which leads perfectly into grow a coaching tree, like NBA coach Greg Popovich.
Yeah, his impact isn't just wins, it's his coaching forest.
Yeah.
All the coaches, players he mentored, many becoming rivals.
That takes generosity.
Rabbi Eliezer said, "Let the honor of your students be as dear to you as your own." Popovich opened doors, extended ladders, built future leaders.
But this applies beyond sports.
Oh, yeah. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Emerson nurturing writers, Frederick Douglass mentoring Ida B. Wells, MLK's protégés Lewis, Young, Denzel Washington paying for Chadwick Boseman's schooling.
Wow.
We might not change the whole world ourselves, but by supporting others, our efforts can live on. Ensure your impact outlasts you.
Crucially, while doing all this, we must look out for the little guy. Angela Merkel taking in 1 million Syrian refugees.
Guided by a faith that cared for the bruised reeds of the world, huge criticism, but she said, "Wir schaffen das, we can do this."
Taking a stand for the vulnerable.
Cato the Younger hated bullies from childhood, hated corruption that hurt regular people. Ralph McGill warned, "When the wolves of hate are loosed on one people, then no one is safe."
We're interconnected.
Clarence Garrow worked with corporations, but refused to help them oppress the weak or convict the innocent. The book says our job is to protect the vulnerable, because they are us and we are them, a fundamental duty.
And sometimes that protection means you have to make good trouble. Arthur Ashe, the dignified tennis star, getting arrested protesting apartheid.
Shocking for his fans, sponsors, a deliberate choice.
Like John Lewis.
Exactly. Inspired by Rosa Parks, he dedicated his life to good trouble, necessary trouble. Arrested 45 times.
Incredible.
Eleanor Roosevelt could distress the comfortable. Larry Kramer's relentless AIDS activism, sometimes alienating, woke people up. And those disability activists doing the Capitol crawl.
Crawling up the Capitol steps.
Yeah, ditching wheelchairs, crutches, forcing leaders to literally see how the other half lives, creating pressure. Kramer knew if people had listened sooner, thousands would have lived. We need more good trouble to disrupt complacency.
And when you meet resistance doing that, just keep going back.
Persistence is key.
Raphael Lemkin, coining the word genocide after WWII.
Giving a crime without a name, then fighting tirelessly for decades to get it codified into international law. Passed in 48.
But the U.S. didn't ratify for ages.
Right. Senator William Proxmire picked up the fight in 67, speaking day after day until it was finally ratified. Persistence.
Yeah.
John Doerr, the civil rights lawyer, lived by it. You've just got to keep going back. Facing mobs, setbacks, just keep going. Marcus Aurelius said, "No one can make you give up on your cause. That's the one thing you control."
Challenges mean you're onto something important.
Exactly. Put one foot in front of the other. Build momentum. Eventually, we, or someone carrying the torch helped light succeeds. Remember, we won when we started. Your persistence defines your commitment.
Okay, broadening out one last time. Expand the circle.
Yeah.
That story about the Japanese equestrian Shunzo Kido.
In the Olympics, leading gold medal in sight, but he pulls out.
To save his horse.
Yeah, since the horse couldn't take more. He heard the low voice of mercy, not the loud acclaim of glory. Gandhi said how we treat the defenseless, the voiceless, other species, says everything about us. Leonardo da Vinci freeing caged birds. Young Lincoln realizing an ant's life is as sweet as ours to us after his stepbrother killed a turtle.
Expanding empathy.
The Stoic Heracles had those concentric circles of concern, self, family, community, humanity, animals, future generations. Justice is pulling those outer rings closer inward, caring for others as much as ourselves. Unkindness bleeds over. Expanding the circle makes us and the world better.
That makes so much sense, kindness spreading outwards. Next, though, a tough one. Find the good in everyone. Harvey Milk trying to connect with Dan White.
Yeah, White, the politician with strong anti-gay views. Most saw him as a lost cause, a pig. But Milk insisted, he's working class. Brought up with those prejudices, I'm going to sit next to him, let him know we're not all those bad things. Believed everyone can be educated and helped.
Even became friends, briefly, before White killed him. Tragic.
Terribly tragic. And Gandhi's nonviolence rested on believing in the goodness in other people, no one too far gone.
Like Mickey Schwerner.
That heartbreaking story. Civil rights activist, his last words to his murderer, "Sir, I know just how you feel." Believing love could change even you.
That level of faith is astounding.
Yeah.
And dangerous.
It absolutely can be. It got Milk and Schwerner killed. But then Holiday points to John Newton, cruel slave ship captain, transforms into a fervent abolitionist, writes, "Amazing grace."
Proof that change is possible.
Exactly. We're improved by hoping people can change. We can't afford to lose faith entirely because sometimes it works. It's a profound act of faith in humanity itself.
And to achieve that good, sometimes you have to give the full measure of devotion. Back to Regulus.
Returning to Carthage to torture and death for Rome's honor, believing breaking his oath would harm the whole city. Agonizing choice between family and duty.
That ultimate sacrifice.
Mirrored by Emily Davison for suffrage, Gerald Ford pardoning Nixon, knowing the political costs, but believing it was for the nation's good. That North Star clarifies what must be done, however painful. MLK saying he'd willingly give my life for that which I think is right. Harvey Milk's final act organ donation, a practical way for anyone to give hope. It's holding nothing back when principles demand it. What would your full measure be?
Deep question. And what fuels that devotion? The book suggests love wins. Looking at Malcolm X's journey.
Yeah, initially consumed by anger, hatred in the Nation of Islam, where what doesn't transmit light creates its own darkness.
But then Mecca changed him.
Profoundly.
Yeah.
He wrote, "I'm for truth, no matter who tells it, justice, no matter who is for or against. I'm a human being first." Embracing humanity beyond race or religion.
Outgrew the hate.
James Baldwin said, "Hatred has never failed to destroy the men who hated, while love does not fail." It's a testament to Malcolm X's character that he escaped that gravitational pull at the end. Hopeful. The question becomes, is your heart growing or shrinking? Love protects, strengthens. It's the better way. The ultimate force for good.
And finally, wrapping it all together. Pay it forward. Recognizing we stand on the shoulders of giants.
We're coated with the stardust of so much goodness from those before us. Ralph Ellison's grandparents freed by Civil War soldiers. Tammy Duckworth's crew saving her life.
We inherit these gifts.
Our job is to pay this back, but pay it forward. Plant trees for future generations, so they don't say, if my daddy had done this, it would have been better for me.
Leave things better.
The work might feel infinitesimal individually, but it's what gives life meaning, allows us to sparkle others with the goodness we received. Bonhoeffer said, the test of a moral society is the kind of world that it leaves to its children. We benefited from past justice. We owe it to the future.
Wow. We've covered such a huge sweep today, haven't we? From keeping your word right up to these massive historical movements.
It's a lot.
But the core thread seems to be that doing the right thing. It's not about being perfect. It's about those daily choices, often small, often quiet.
Exactly. And Ryan Holiday talks about this in his afterword, how his own view of Stoicism shifted. Not just self-mastery, but really serving the common good. Like choosing to make his philosophical coins in the U.S., even though it costs more. Advocating for social issues, even if he loses readers. He says it's the opposite of getting hardened by age. He hopes the book is like an ethical will for his kids.
An ethical will.
I like that. So what does it all mean for you listening? The ultimate test, maybe, isn't just what you achieve for yourself. It's the kind of person you become, the legacy of goodness, kindness, decency you leave behind, especially for people you'll never even meet.
So what kind of ethical will are you writing with your life? Are you expanding that circle? Looking for angles to do good, to spark others. Remember that core message Holiday leaves us with. Life is short. Be good. Do good. Love. And be loved. Try to leave the place better than you found it. Do the right thing right now. What's one small right thing you can do right after this? However tiny it seems, just take that first step.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for this deep dive. We really hope this journey through right thing right now helps empower you to live a bit more justly starting today.